It's Wednesday, the 11th of September. Probably should have checked that out before I said it. My name is Simon Miller, and welcome to Simon Miller's Pro Wrestling Show, live on YouTube. If you've never joined and you're listening to this by vicarious means, why not try and join me every single week? Also sponsored by pinsandknuckles.com. Make sure you check them out for all their merchandise needs. And, of course, go to Pins and Knuckles merch. I've got to turn my mic on, just realized. Do that right now. There we go. Go to pinsandknucklesmerch.com where you can get an exclusive Simon Miller t-shirt. I had one to show you, and then I had to send it away. And I was too good with my admin today. It's sent away, but you can absolutely check that out as well. Also, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram at SimonMiller316. If you're brand new to the YouTube channel, give me a subscribe. Like the video, share the video. You know how it works. And there's Streamlabs. Right, are we back? Hopefully, we are back. No idea what happened there. You may just get a moment of me staring at my computer trying to fix it. Apparently we went down. I think we just jumped. Anyway, that's live streaming for you. Let's just get on with the damn show. I don't know how much of that you got. That'll be it now. This will now ruin the numbers for the streaming. I hate you, Streamlabs. I'm just going to say it. Every time I use OBS, it's fine. Every time I use Streamlabs, you go down. Why do you suck so much? You've now destroyed my live stream. I know how people work. They'll tune in and whatnot. But yes, I don't know what you heard at the start. Hopefully, you've got it all. So I apologize for the buffering. That wasn't me. That was Streamlabs just crashed. I went into the back end and it just said the stream had stopped. I don't know why. So I had to stop it and start it again. Somebody in the comments has said no ups and downs this morning. Dude, it's 2 p.m. BST all the time. All the time. It doesn't change. You're going to get it in 55 minutes, 56 minutes. What we do is we wrap up the podcast here. Then we'll head on over to What Culture Wrestling as a team, and we will we will do ups and downs for SmackDown. A lot to say about SmackDown. Certain aspects I'll touch upon during this podcast, and then you get the main event. You get the main event over there. Again, the only thing I didn't mention, if you want to control the stream, you want to control the podcast, you want to ask a question, you want to get your say, you can use the super chat. It's the little dollar sign beneath the chat there. I put a little thing on the screen this time because some people are asking about it. It just means that I don't have to reference it all the time. Right, Bray Wyatt, let's do it. He had a little message on Monday on Raw that said 11:19. It was on a clock, and he smashed the clock when originally the clock said 3:16. This led to the internet going crazy, as it's wont to do. You know, the big thing, the surprising thing that I took away, well, that other people took away from it, that I didn't look at it at all, was that they believed the whole 3:16 and the references to Austin may tie into some kind of program, some kind of feud with Stone Cold Steve Austin. I didn't see it like that at all. I don't think Steve Austin is ever coming back for a proper feud or a proper program. And also, I don't think that because he could never pay off a match with Bray Wyatt, I don't even think he'd be one of the Fiend's victims. I think Stone Cold Steve Austin, the character, is bigger than that. While it would be an amazing moment, I just never saw those things coming together, nor did I believe that all the teasing on Monday night was leading towards that. And yet Tuesday, the internet was filled with, is Austin coming back to WWE? Are we getting Bray Wyatt versus Stone Cold Steve Austin? I didn't see it like that at all. So, you know, that then does tie into the whole 11:19 thing, which people thought was a reference to the or last night, I should say, on SmackDown, when The Undertaker came out. They thought, oh, The Fiend is going to attack The Undertaker. So I don't necessarily think that... I have two theories that I'm going to present today, and if I get this right, in a few weeks, I can gloat like an absolute asshole. But my first theory does tie into the normal one. Just because we get a tease on it would have been the 9th of September, doesn't mean that WWE has to pay it off straight away. In fact, we have to get through Hell in a Cell before we get anywhere with Bray Wyatt, which of course means him potentially winning the Universal title. Or who knows what they're going to do there. That's obviously October the 2nd. No, October the 2nd. I think it'll be the 2nd... 3rd, 4th, 7th. I believe that's October the 7th, which is a month or so away. Basically, the pay-per-view after the Clash of Champions. And I think that Bray... I'll get to that in a second. So my second theory, I know I'm doing it backwards, but I'm going to go with this as my backup, is that given everything The Undertaker said last night, maybe this is the last time in Madison Square Garden, basically a lot of rhetoric that would suggest he's going to retire. Don't get me wrong, a lot of it also made absolutely no sense. We'll talk about that on Ups and Downs, What Culture Wrestling. Make sure you check it out. But 11:19, very well. I mean, it could be two things. One, yes, that does tie into the day that the Undertaker debuted, which is what a lot of people were referencing. But it also could just be November 2019, which, of course, is Survivor Series. So my backup theory for all of this is that at Survivor Series 2019, we are going to get The Fiend, who is the Universal Champion, I hope, taking on The Undertaker, and Bray Wyatt is going to put him down. I'm throwing it out there now. That is one of my theories about what 11-19 doesn't mean. And the fact that we haven't paid it off straight away is not a problem by WWE. Much like the Roman Reigns storyline, I'm a big fan of just teasing and sprinkling this sauce over the top and letting us debate about it and letting us get excited about it. You know, maybe Bray Wyatt can do 11-19 teases for, you know, the next month, the next 6 weeks. You know, the more that he does it, the better that it's going to become. So I'm going to go with that with my backup theory. My stupid theory that I'm going to put in at number 1 is simply, I'm doing it this way just because it's sooner, right? This is a dumb one, but hey, I've seen dumber on the internet already, so I'm going with this. This Sunday at Clash of Champions, you've got to imagine that Bray Wyatt / The Fiend is going to turn up after Seth Rollins versus Braun Strowman is over. I imagine Seth Rollins will win, and then I imagine Bray Wyatt will turn up and we'll start that feud, which will lead into Hell in a Cell. 7 p.m. ET is when that pay-per-view starts, right? And the rumors going around at the moment is that we are going to go lock. Clash of Champions is going to be a big show. Let me get the card up here. Clash of Champions 2019. So already on that show, we have fucking Nora. 11 matches, right? So that is going to be a long-ass show. There's no two ways. 11 matches, W. That's more than SummerSlam. Apparently New Day versus The Revival is on that show. I didn't even know that. Anyway, my bizarre, stupid theory, again, my real theory is that I think 11-19 looks forward to Survivor Series, where we'll get Undertaker versus The Fiend for the Universal Championship, making that clear before we go forward. But also that at 11-19, which would be 8, 9, 10, 11, 4 hours and 19 minutes after that pay-per-view starts, which it very well could with, again, 11 matches. 11 matches. That is when Bray Wyatt appears in the ring after Seth Rollins has won. Now, it would also mean that Bray Wyatt has some kind of psychic powers and he knows when that match is going to end. But I'm just going to say, if that main event ticks over the 4-hour mark and we get into 11 p.m. ET plus time, just keep checking on those minutes. And I wouldn't be surprised if WWE ties it into 19 minutes past 11, Bray Wyatt appears in that ring and absolutely destroys Seth Rollins. How dumb is that? But we've got to come up with new things now. It had nothing to do with SmackDown. Bray Wyatt was in the dark main event after the cameras have been turned off. And as we know with all of wrestling, not just WWE, when the cameras get turned off, it doesn't matter. It makes no difference. Shout out to my man Josh Tilley. As you can see, Stone Cold Steve Austin in the corner is giving you a toast to say thank you as well. In the super chat, he just says, "Yo, Simon, here is some money, dude. Been following you since the start of your wrestling journey. Keep up the great work." That's very kind, Josh. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'll do my best. And that's all I can do. Also, shout out to Undead FB Goo. Always a supporter. Always appreciate it here on the show. And said, the Survivor Series pay-per-view was my first thought. High five, Simon. Right back at you. I think that's what I'm going with now. The 19 past 11 thing for for the Clash of Champions is a dumb one that I came up when I was cooking my eggs this morning. I thought maybe it is something really simple and we're overdoing it. Again, it absolutely breaks the wall of professional wrestling, but it would still be cool. And the whole thing is fun anyway. I enjoy speculating. I enjoy guessing. It's why, despite many problems with it, I can get on board with the ending to SmackDown, because basically Kevin Owens gets fired by Shane McMahon, right? Kevin Owens gets fired by Shane McMahon. The match itself was crazy because I couldn't work out why Kevin Owens was going from good ref to bad ref. I don't think that was ever explained. I could understand. There's logic there if he had done the same thing throughout. For example, if he's a good ref from start to finish, he's, not betraying Shane McMahon. That's the wrong word, but you get what I mean. And if he's on Shane McMahon's side, you can still keep him in a babyface role because you'd be like, oh, he's trying to get his $100,000 fine reduced or cancelled. He's protecting his family. That is part of Kevin Owens' character. But he wasn't. He was flip-flopping, and then by the end, Shane McMahon fired him. Now, the problem with Kevin Owens being fired is that he gets fired a lot, and he quits a lot. And, if we are now building to a match at Hell in a Cell between Shane McMahon and Kevin Owens, that's what we did in 2017. That brings up its own issues. With that aside, I like the fact that WWE has gone back to cliffhangers. I really, really do. They didn't necessarily need it on Raw because it was a celebration with Stone Cold Steve Austin, although not really reflected in the ratings, I will say. It's not often that I guffaw when I see the ratings for Raw, because ultimately as a fan it doesn't matter. I always say that. It's interesting from an admin and a business perspective if you're into that as a watcher of WWE, but as long as you enjoy the show, who cares what anybody else thinks of it, and who cares who else is watching it. But yeah, from a given that it was in Madison Square Garden, which to me is a draw, I like a Madison Square Garden crowd, and that Steve Austin was on it, it topped out at like 2.1 million total, which I think is like the second lowest non-holiday number ever for a Monday Night Raw. And this, we're going to get into these kind of chats now, but again, I find it interesting. Obviously, the football's back. The National Football League, the NFL has returned, and that kind of goes to show how much that's going to impact Monday Night Raw. The third hour did a 1.8, which is incredibly low. I mean, that's lower than SmackDown does. And I never actually... We could get to the point where the overall third-hour average drops below a 2. And if that happens, Raw's not going to get cancelled and WWE's going to be fine. They're being paid a lot of money. But when you start to think long-term, that is detrimental to the product. So... because you're not going to get another massive TV deal if you're doing a 1.8, 1.9. And who knows what else football will do to Raw going forward. I thought Stone Cold Steve Austin would prop it up more than he did. The problem there being that we just saw him on Raw Reunion. You're going to see him on October 2nd when they move to Fox, or October the 4th, whatever it is. So, yeah, I mean, that was an issue. But, I mean, we didn't do a cliffhanger there. But I do appreciate the fact that we've gone back to that. We've kind of moved away from the Roman Reigns story now. I guess Rowan is the guy that killed him. How Daniel Bryan ties in, I presume they're coming up with as I say these words. But I like that I can end a show and have a reason, not only that I've invested 120 minutes of my life, but that I can justify doing it again next week. So that's a shout out, even though... I'm a bit done with Shane McMahon, Kevin Owens, personally. Undead FB Goo in the super chat says, Shane, on SmackDown, I threw a donut at my TV. Don't waste your donuts. Never waste your donuts on wrestling. Donuts are like one of the greatest things ever. I mean, the 3 greatest foodstuffs in the world are probably pizza, donuts, and ice cream. I think I mean that too. Burgers are going to fight their way in there as well. So, but I know, look, when it comes to Shane McMahon, I thought we had too many backstage skits with him, but I thought this week we used his character. Maybe not the firing stuff. That's up in the air. We can debate it. But, he was a heel, and he put himself in the main event, the King of the Ring semi-finals, but he lost. He got his comeuppance, and that's all that matters to me. And Chad Gable won. And Chad Gable beat him 2-0 in an impromptu 2 out of 3 falls match. I got no problem with that. That's Shane McMahon's role. So I actually applaud WWE for booking that. And I tell you, if Chad Gable can now beat Baron Corbin in the King of the Ring finals, it's going to be happy days all round. And I'll talk to you about King of the Ring in a second. But Panther King in the super chat says, I enjoy the fact that you always don't give a damn who judges and just keep going. No, not at all. I appreciate that, Panther King. And no, I don't, who is judging? I don't know who is judging, but yeah, people are always going to judge. No, I don't care about that, man. You got to live your life for you. I don't want to get too cheesy, although we do here on the podcast or the show a lot. But negative influences and negative people are usually only that way because deep down they're not very happy. So you should feel sorry for them, really. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean in a real way, in an emotional way, because ideally I'd like everyone to be happy. But yeah, the King of the Ring. So the King of the Ring finals have been shifted. They were meant to go down this Sunday at Clash of Champions. And actually, let's just check, because I'm using Wikipedia for this. No, that has been taken off the Wikipedia page. It got moved off SmackDown, and it got put onto Raw. And there was some controversy about this, with some people saying, oh, why have we done this? It's bad for Chad Gable. It's bad for Baron Corbin. I disagree entirely. More people are going to watch Raw than are going to watch Clash of Champions. We've already got 11 matches, which is overkill. You're not going to put it on as the main event, so it's just going to be a random match in the middle of the card. Putting it on Monday night and making it the showpiece, the center of that episode, is just going to make an even bigger deal. Now, I think my gut tells me that Baron Corbin will win because that's how WWE likes to book, or they have a thing for Baron Corbin. But if we are going all in with Chad Gable and somehow he's become somebody that we want to champion and he wins the King of the Ring tournament on a Raw, I think you potentially made a new star. And to me, that is what we should do. The King of the Ring has been handled really well, apart from some of the gaga with Shane McMahon, Kevin Owens, Elias, and what we saw last night. But overall, it's been awesome. It's been great. And if we can get a really good winner on a really good episode of Raw and use that as the main event, that's a thumbs up from me. So I actually think that's WWE being smart. I don't mind them shifting around their plans if they actually go, oh man, you know what? This makes more sense. It's like, I don't mind them trying new things and it's sucking, as long as they realize it sucks and they change their plans. I'd like it if they still, cornered those things off. I don't like it when storylines or ideas or characters just drop. I think you should always, even if you do the Emma thing, right? I actually quite respected them for the Emma thing. They changed their mind, so she came out and she just threw it in the bin. And it was ridiculous, and it will now always be a caveat and a footnote that we talk about, but that was much preferred than it just not happening and us going, excuse me? But I want WWE to try new things, and I want them to adapt, and I want them to look at the situation they find themselves in and be flexible. I think that's something that we've been critical of them before. So shifting the King of the Ring finals, let's do it. And hey, you know what? If Baron Corbin wins, I don't want Baron Corbin to win, but if Baron Corbin wins, he's had some of the best matches we've seen in WWE. I think he's found himself as a character, and I think he has the persona that if he does walk around in the crown and the gown, which I don't actually think you need, but if he does, it's not going to affect him. We keep talking about Chad Gable and these rumors that he's going to be Shorty G. If WWE call him Shorty G and stick a crown on his head, that will affect Chad Gable just because of who he is as a person. But Baron Corbin is such a numpty in the way that he's meant to be. He can be like King Booker, right? He can probably embrace that. So to me, I think it's it's just been well done all round. And there's nothing wrong with being critical about WWE. Half the fun these days is about doing that. But we should also tip our caps when they do all right. I think they're doing all right. Shout out to Chronically Mags in the Super Chat too. Says, keep being you. You help people more than you know. And that's lovely. Thank you very much, Chronically Mags. I mean, I never intended or I never thought that could happen, but the fact that you and many others say that is excellent. So thank you very much. And thank you very much for supporting the Super Chat as well. Again, anything that goes into the Super Chat goes, it's same as the Patreon. It goes right back into this stuff. And again, like the sign says, you can change the subject. You can ask any question you want using the Super Chat. I'll answer and talk about whatever you want. Michael W says, any chance we see Stone Cold versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania? Unfortunately not, my man. I know we all want Austin to come back, and there's an amazing video on Austin's own Twitter feed of a phone reaction to his pop at Madison Square Garden. It is unbelievable. It is so loud. It's earth-shattering. I think The Undertaker came close on SmackDown too. So the thirst and the want for Austin to come back is still massive. But, I mean, I don't mean this in a bad way. Like, he looked great. But look at him, right? He's a 55-year-old man. I don't want to see Austin come back in that state. And I don't mean that as a negative or a detriment. I'm just talking about it literally. I want him to do skits. I want him to come out and have fun. I want him to throw out some stunners. I don't need to see him in a feud. I don't need to see him in a match. Deep down, you kind of think that you do want that. But I think history has taught us that really it's not worth the risk. So, not even the risk. I don't even mean that. I just don't think it will live up to expectations. It never does. I'd put CM Punk in that category as well, and CM Punk is, 40 years old? I still think CM Punk could smash it, but I mean, we have such high expectations when people come back. I don't ever think they'd necessarily hit in the way we'd want them to hit. So, no, I don't. And also, but Brock Lesnar match, Brock Lesnar, he hits too hard, and he throws people around too much. And also, I don't think Brock Lesnar would need that. I mean, it's the bigger draw. But if Steve Austin was going to come back, yeah, do him against a Bray Wyatt, do him against a Seth Rollins, a Braun Strowman, someone that's really gonna get something out the back end. And look, I'm the biggest Stone Cold. I'm one of, as a kid, I loved Steve Austin. Like he was everything to me. But I don't need to, he's got his own stuff going on, and I just think that's more important than, whatever we would expect to see him in. I just do. I think what we've got now is fine. If anything, I keep him off WWE TV for a while. I think even the two back-to-back appearances we have done are enough. I think we can walk away now and, just focus on... Because we do have a problem with current stars. I mean, it's difficult because Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock and people like that were otherworldly. The fact they came along at the same time was just lucky. But, it is an issue. We do need to start garnering those reactions from the people that are already on the roster. So let's start coming up with storylines to do that. Let's get people over. Let's get people invested in what we have now. And sometimes nostalgia acts can get in the way of that. Not that I don't love it. I do. Switching over to SmackDown. Undertaker segment was great. Again, thunderous reaction. Don't know what he was talking about. Just absolute gibberish. But he's the Undertaker. The presentation's cool, so who cares? And then he beats up Sami Zayn. Again, I love Sami Zayn. Would I rather... I know it's seen as a privilege to be in that position. But again, it's context and it's history. And Sami Zayn now just has become a fall guy, which is a shame. But he still mastered that role, and he still delivered it better than probably anybody else on the roster could have done. Got chokeslam. But what an awesome way to start, right? It was a great way to start SmackDown. I was invested. Straight away, and I think that's well, it is the point. There's no two ways about it. Again, the King of the Ring stuff was left and right, but ultimately, I think overall they've done a good job. Bit worried about Bayley and Charlotte, just because I don't see Charlotte as a face. Thought Kofi Kingston and Daniel Bryan, Randy Orton was perfect. That callback to Madison Square Garden 10 years ago, which I would presume was one of the last times that Raw was in MSG before they came back. I think Orton should win the title. Again, we'll talk about that later. Heavy Machinery having a squash match works. We haven't really seen them do that, so they could just go out there and kick ass. You know, there was a lot of good. There's a lot of easy... I mean, the Mandy Rose, Nikki Cross stuff, I think, has issues, because I don't know why Nikki Cross is meant to be a face now. That's never been justified to me, and it does feel a bit like we're just doing what we did with the Iconics all over again. But these are tiny, minor criticisms that I imagine some other people elsewhere will like. Don't like the Ember Moon loss, but again, these are tiny, minor criticisms. It's not the same. It's not the same issues that maybe we would have had a few weeks ago. Jeffrey W. in the super chat. I love this. Wrestling school is going well, Simon. I hurt my ankle bad last night, but fought through it. I think I earned a bit of respect from the trainer for it. But make sure you take care of yourself as well, man. Health is the most important thing in wrestling, because I think an element that people don't talk about is when you're hurting, your morale goes down too. And you don't want to get to the point where you feel like crap. Because if you feel like crap, you're not going to be enjoying anything. But I do respect it. I do respect you for fighting through. But always know your own limits too. And it's cool to know that somebody out there is in wrestling training right now. Again, if you're in wrestling training right now, drop me a line. Let me know. I've been there. I've been through it. It's one of the hardest things in the world. But when you get to the point where everything starts to click, it's also one of the most satisfying and fun things in the world too. So yeah, Jeffrey, keep smashing it. Tape up that ankle. Rice, was that rest, ice, compression, elevation? You know all of that. Don't overdo the pain pills. Don't want to do that. And yeah, see how you get on. But definitely keep me updated too. And let me know where you're based as well, Jeffrey. I already know because I've sent you stuff in the past. But we should. One day I want to have a random match with someone that's told me they've been training to be a wrestler. Because wouldn't that be crazy? And of course on Saturday, just a quick plug, High Wycombe, Saturday, EWA. I'm taking on Andy Simmons. Talking of training, he's the first person that ever tried to train me. I tried to become a wrestler in my early 20s, around about, just under 10 years ago. And I just didn't have the mental capacity for it. We've talked about this before. I didn't have the mental capacity for it at all. And so to be here now, and I'm about to take him on at EWA. If you're around, I know there's a few tickets left. Check it out. Find them out on Twitter, or just type it on Google and come watch. Undead FB Goo says, I like it. Here you go. This is what you can use the super chat for. Change the subject. Doesn't matter the value amount, whatever you want. What do you think is going to happen with Randy Orton? Well, Undead, I've got my own little prediction for this. I think that Randy Orton has got to win the WWE title on Sunday. I really, really do. I've enjoyed Kofi Kingston's reign. I think it's been a feel-good moment. I think that was topped off at New York last night, and the way the fans reacted to him. However, there's not much else we can do with him. We're running out of competitors for him. Whereas Randy Orton has this incredible story where he keeps telling Kofi Kingston that his achievements amount to nothing. All he's done in his 11-year career is have the power of positivity, and he changed his Jamaican accent. Like, that's what he said on SmackDown. We need Randy Orton to back up those words by winning. Now, he wins by cheating, of course, but he can still come out on the SmackDown after that match and say, I told you, I'm an 8-time champ. Oh, he's more than that, but in the last 10 years, he's won the belt 7 times. I've now won that belt 8 times. Kofi won it once, and now I've taken it off of him. And then we can start building Kofi up as, I just think he can have a bit more edge to him. Not that he hasn't needed it to this point, but I just think it would be interesting for that character. We can introduce some edge, introduce some fire, whatever the word you want to use is, to that persona, and just make him a bit more aggressive. Shift him away from the happy-go-lucky babyface and put them in some kind of crazy match with Randy, or maybe at Hell in a Cell, right? Maybe put them in the cell, I don't know, where they just implode. I think that's good for Randy Orton. I think it's good for Kofi Kingston. I think it's good for the story. I don't think we run out of ideas because, again, if Kofi wins, he can't fight Orton again. That would be crap. So who does he fight after that? I think there's loads of things that we can do there, and it all starts with Randy Orton winning that championship. So that's what I want to happen. Whether or not it does, I don't know, but I'll keep both my fingers crossed. I think Clash of Champions on paper looks quite good, to be honest. I mean, just to run you through the card, if you don't know, it's Bayley versus Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Women's Championship. I actually think that Bayley is going to retain. And that ties into Becky Lynch versus Sasha Banks, where I think Sasha Banks is going to win. I think having Sasha and Bayley as your joint champions, there is money, there is gold in that, and I think it's something we should try. I don't think Becky Lynch losing the title now, much like Kofi, is going to be a problem. But again, Sasha Banks can cheat. I don't need a clean win. They're assholes, so it's fine. You've got the 2 matches with Seth Rollins and Braun. Obviously, they've got the tag match against Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler. And then they've got the championship match, Kofi Kingston Orton, that we've talked about. Drew Gulak versus Carrillo and Lince Dorado. That'll be good. Pre-show, I'd imagine. New Day versus The Revival. Shinsuke Nakamura versus The Miz. Roman Reigns versus Eric Rowan. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross versus Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. And AJ Styles versus Cedric Alexander. I mean, that is a ridiculously over the top card. I can't even remember why the hell we why I read that through to you. But yeah, I just there's plenty of feuds there. I think that we can take quite distinct directions in. I can see a lot of title changes on this. I think Bayley will retain. I think Seth Rollins will retain. I think Braun and Seth will lose the tag belts. I think Kofi will lose. Maybe the Revival win because they're going to keep teaming up with Orton. That would be cool. I think Shinsuke retains. I think Becky loses. And then AJ and Alexa will probably retain as well. On paper, it's all right, It's all right. Michael W., are we ever going to have a match between Ronda and Becky? Are we ever going to have a match between Ronda and Becky? It all depends on Ronda Rousey. Like, if Ronda Rousey ever comes back, that's the match you make because you have the natural built-in storyline at WrestleMania. But I don't know. I don't know what Ronda Rousey's plans are. I do think that you can say once she left, there was a bit of a hole in the women's division, maybe because WWE had built a lot around her, but she did bring a lot to the table, and I think she was maybe better than we gave her credit for. I think she brought something. I think she added something. I'd like to see that match. I think it would be great. My big worry about the women's division now is that we're turning Charlotte Flair face. And I've never really been into Charlotte's face stuff. She's an incredible athlete. I still think she's one of the best women's wrestlers WWE's ever had. That's I don't mean it like that. Forget women. One of the best wrestlers WWE ever had. It makes no difference if you're a man or woman. But as a face, I just don't buy it. She's a bit like Randy Orton to me. There's a disconnect to me there. And it does seem like with the whole Bayley stuff, we're going in whole hog with Charlotte being the good guy, and there's a bit of I don't know how we're going to do. I guess it depends how hard we can push the Bayley Sasha Banks stuff. I do think we should go all in with them. I think they should be mega heels, mega assholes, cheat to win, all that stuff. I just think it suits their characters, especially Bayley, who's been a face for so long. But yeah, Charlotte Flair coming across as a good guy. Also, I think Charlotte Flair, if she wins, which I don't think she will, but I think we're already up to 10 title reigns. Do you remember that? If you're old like me, you'll remember when Bret Hart won his 5th. You're like, wow, 5 title reigns. I don't think Hulk Hogan won it more than 5. I think he won it 6, actually, I say that, because he had that one in 2002 or whenever it was. But I think before they had 5, I think he had 6 title runs, world title runs tops. And it did make it feel more special. I know it's all made up and whatever, but it did. Bret Hart had 5. I think Shawn Michaels had 3. And then it was like the Randy Ortons, the Triple H's, the John Cena's. They all had like 10 plus. And I kind of think there has been a detriment there. Undead FB Goo, such a good supporter. Thank you so much. I know we're not meant to like Randy, but I do. I don't know what it is, but I like the unhinged wrestler character types. I want Kofi to lose. No, I get it. And I tell you why. Talking about the Charlotte Flair stuff, tying it in with a segue, it's because you believe him in that role. And when you can believe somebody in that role, you kind of get a kick out of it. And Randy is so good at what he does and does come across like such an asshole. It's kind of cool. I like Randy Orton. I like Randy Orton when he talks shit. I think, I swore in mine. I like, there's something about him. And a lot of the stuff, what he says is true, and a good heel needs to do that. But no, I'm totally with you. I think that Orton, not necessarily he's underrated. I think he gets a hard time. I think he understands his character really well. I think he's been true to that character from day one, and the tenure and the longevity he's built up is only helping him now. So no, I agree with you. I like him. I want Kofi to lose, and I want Randy Orton to win. I just think it's time. I think it's time we shuffle things up. We're heading towards that big weekend in October. Let's get there and introduce some new characters. Anthony Tangle in the super chat. Do you find it disappointing that the King of the Ring final is on Raw and not Clash of Champions? Now, Anthony, we talked about it a few minutes ago. Not as a problem. I'm just letting you know. Just trying to do my best broadcasting work here. I like it. I think it's good. There's 11 matches on Clash of Champions. That match would not headline. It would be it may open, but even then, it would get lost on that card. Shifting it over to Raw hopefully puts it in the main event, hopefully gives it a bigger spotlight, a bigger highlight, and then whoever wins can get a massive push coming out the other side. The other good thing is, let's say Baron Corbin does win, which some people are worried about. He can't go into a feud with Seth Rollins straight away for the world title, the Universal title. Bray Wyatt's got him at Hell in a Cell. That is definitely a tick right now because I don't think we need to see it. But no, right move for me by WWE. I like the fact they're happy to change things on the fly. I support it. Mark Reese in the Super Chat says, that just now sounded like a Wookiee. Well, like a Star Wars Wookiee. Like, I can't do it. My voice is absolutely ruined at the moment, as you can probably tell. And I persevere anyway because I'm a bit of a moron. But, that's how we learn, I guess you could say. I don't know. We have a couple of questions as well that I'm just going to load up before I forget to answer them. If Shane had gone on to win the match and ultimately won King of the Ring, would the internet have shut down from outrage? Yes, that would have been too much. That would have been too much for me. Mark, you said you sent your super chat twice. I'm 99% sure I can refund those. Let me know if you want a refund, and afterwards I'll check it out. I think I can refund it. But yeah, I'd never take your money twice. Let me know, though. It's up to you. Also, I had another thought after watching the latest Firefly Funhouse episode. What if 1119 is just Bray having fun with us, and it doesn't really mean anything at all? Totally agree. It could all just be a big lie, and it could be a red herring to send us off. They may never mention it again. I mean, WWE does that a lot. I hope it does tie into something. I just think it's more fun, but well, I like the fact that we can have this debate, and you can't just have a debate based on nothing. Like, if Bray Wyatt keeps on saying stuff and it doesn't go anywhere, eventually you're going to be like, well, that was pointless. Why did we even bother? But he can do that a few times as long as he pays off on other stuff too. I think Hell in a Cell is going to be really interesting. I think Clash of Champions is going to be really interesting. When we get to the end of it, I think we're going to know. A lot more. Timothy Jones in the super chat says, "What's up, Simon? Is it bad? Hang on. That I actually want Rowan to win and go on a tear for at least the next few months. I feel like it should be Luke Harper's push, though. Well, couple of things with this, Timothy. Absolutely not. One of my favorite things on SmackDown was seeing a guy like Rowan be put in a position like that and getting to tangle with the biggest guy in the company. I thought it was great. I thought it kicked ass. I thought it rocked. I thought it was great all round by WWE. I don't think he will win because it's Roman Reigns, but I love the fact that we're in this position. I want to see Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan, but if before we get there, we can go over, get other people over in doing so, let's do it. It's great. I wouldn't mind it. If Rowan wins and they keep pushing him, I'm perfectly fine with it. I think it's a great evolution for his character. He comes out of this, thing with Daniel Bryan and moves on to that. I got no problem with that whatsoever. In terms of Luke Harper, all I'm going to say is this. I don't like being a tease. A video should be going up on What Culture today called How WWE should have booked the Roman Reigns storyline. I came up with an idea. It features Luke Harper, so all I will say is check that out. It should go up, this evening, late afternoon, BST time. And yes, I think Luke Harper... No, I don't think Luke Harper should have been in that position, but I think there was a way to bring the Bludgeon Brothers back together, as well as a couple of other people, and when this storyline was done, we would have had 4 hot stars. But I'll tease that, because I don't want to ruin it. But no, nothing wrong with that, dude. There's nothing wrong with wanting to see fresh faces on TV. All I've seen over the last week is, I can't believe Rowan's in this position. Do it again. And if it doesn't work, that's fine. We talked about this at the start. You tried. Sidewalk Closed just threw some money in the super chat. Always appreciate that. Thank you very much. And somebody also asked, when do you think WWE will push Roman again? I like what they're doing with Roman Reigns right now. I think Roman Reigns is in such a cool position. He's kind of in the Undertaker position, which I know sounds weird, but Undertaker was always in a prominent spot, but he wasn't always in the main event. He wasn't always going after titles, and it worked for him. And that's what I think Roman Reigns doing right now is brilliant. He's just there. You still know he's the guy. He's got his own storylines going on. A lot of those times, those storylines are important. They're fun to watch. That's fine with me. I got no issues with it. And, all the stuff with Connor's Cure on Monday, it's just brilliant. Wrestling's important and it's fun, but it's not as important as that. And, some people don't like it because they think WWE's using charity as a way to, whatever. I don't care. Seeing those kids being able to be on a Raw stage in moments they'll remember forever, that's two thumbs up from me. And I think the fact that Roman has been through all of that. Not that it needs to give it more credibility, because it doesn't, but it does make it more emotional. And I think sometimes when it comes to those stories, you need that emotion, so we have the empathy and we have the sympathy, and we all come together to try and eradicate those things, because it's pretty crazy. Jeffrey W. in the Super Chat says, is there an NXT star you don't want to see called up because you just can't stand them? Mine is Matt Riddle. He just irks me. Well, apparently you're not alone, Jeffrey. Apparently Matt Riddle is not endearing himself to the locker room. Probably could be a work. Probably could be a lie. You never know. Always enjoy it when I get the wool put over my eyes, but that's certainly up for debate. Who do I not like in NXT? I don't think there's anybody I don't like. I mean, right now, do you even get called up? You know, in a week's time, NXT goes to TV. Or is it today? No, it's next week. It goes to TV. Do you even call people up anymore? I mean, I don't think there's anybody down there I don't like, to be honest. I know I can see why Matt Riddle would rub you the wrong way. I think Adam Cole is brilliant. I like Johnny Gargano, Ciampa before he got injured. Velveteen Dream, obviously future star in the making. Cassius Ohno's great. Keith Lee's amazing. I mean, Keith Lee, let's do everything we can with him. No, I don't think so. Djokovic or Djokovic, I can never pronounce his name, Djokovic, whatever, he's good. No, I think Matt Riddle is probably the only one that polarizes people like that. But ultimately, I think the NXT roster is pretty solid, and I'd be happy for any of them to be shifted across. If anybody rubs me the wrong way, the last person that rubbed me the wrong way down on NXT was Enzo. I mean, Enzo was never my guy. We've talked about this before. I seem vindicated now that I'm making it up, given everything that happened. But I never liked... No. It's not that I didn't like Enzo or Cass. I just didn't buy into their gimmick as much as others. I thought they were fine. But again, that's just wrestling. And now, obviously, everything's happened. It makes it look like I'm Miller saw. I didn't see. It just, it's like when I was a kid. Some people like Macho Man. Some people like Ultimate Warrior. Some people like Hulk Hogan. You don't know. You just have these instincts. But I think that would have been the last one. I don't think that would have been the last one. Vicey and Yogi Beach TV says Matt Riddle was better in the Indies. I think we'll have to. I think it's too early to call. I think he's doing pretty well. We'll see what happens as the months go on. Michael W says the Velveteen Dream is box office. Absolutely. And he's an old school sort of WWE character, which I think I tell you this the other day. I think it may be time to go back to colourful characters that wear bright tights and are over the top. And I think Velveteen Dream could be the guy to bring that in. I think we miss it. I really, really, really do. Like, ever since Goldust shifted to AEW, WWE doesn't have anything like that other than the Velveteen Dream. And I'd appreciate more of those coming back. Look at The Undertaker, right? I know it's a different time, it's a different era, but that is a silly, over-the-top character that work. Chicken Salad in the Super Chat just says, Sammy Tally, don't worry. 20 minutes to go. Over at What Culture Wrestling. Make sure you subscribe. We get into the Sami Zayn stuff, which is the literal definition of ups and downs. But yeah, we talk about it and we put it to bed. We need Enzo versus Simon Miller. I don't think that will ever happen. I also think Enzo is probably the type of guy that watches stuff like What Culture, so he'd probably punch me in the face for real. I don't really want that. I am fighting David Starr soon, though, on the subject of actually really good independent professional wrestlers for IPW. That's going to be quite the ticket, I shall say. Right, let me go and check to make sure there's nothing else we need to talk about. The Access deal is interesting. So Anthem Sports, who own Impact Wrestling, bought Access, who obviously, we talked about this yesterday, but they also closed down the Dallas office, which, saw a lot of people, including a lot of important people that brought wrestling to that network to begin with, leave the company, which is a shame. I don't know what they're going to do with that. I think it may become a bigger news story than we know now as it gets sorted out. So yeah, we'll see about that. Nigel McGuinness has left 205 Live because obviously he's going to be full-time on NXT now and it moves to TV. I think that's great for Nigel McGuinness. Such a good commentator. Such a good wrestler as well. Let's never forget that. And he was a huge staple over here if you were into British wrestling. He's a huge reason why we have the scene that we have now. Yeah, we talked about the King of the Rings moving to Monday. Apparently it was Vince McMahon that decided to put Shane McMahon in the role of the King of the Ring finals. I think it's fine. I really, really do. He lost. Why put anybody else in there to lose when the match is next week, really? So I'm all good with it. I really, really am. I think that's how Shane McMahon should be used. Talking of Enzo, there was some apparently rumors he was going to gate crash the MSG show. Thankfully, he didn't. I don't think anybody would have wanted that. I think it would have just upset about them. And of course, AJ Styles versus Cedric Alexander has been added to the pay-per-view on Sunday, which is the right thing to do. I look forward to that match. I think I love the best thing about the King of the Ring is the people that has helped out the other side. And I think Cedric Alexander is one. I'm a bit worried we haven't seen Buddy Murphy recently. I don't think we should just let that go. I absolutely think that there is something there. So, yeah, also Ric Flair signed a deal with Adidas. I saw that the other day as well, and I was like, okay, that's Ric Flair is I don't know. I'm not going to make a comment, but a lot of odd things are going on with Ric Flair, given that we hadn't heard much about Ric Flair, and then all of a sudden he's all these things are coming up. Timothy Jones in the super chat says, Velveteen Dream versus Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania. Can you fantasy build and book this? Daniel Bryan versus the Velveteen Dream. I mean, I have to think about it, Tim, but I mean, yeah, why the hell not? I think Daniel Bryan would love that. He's always said like one of the things he wants to do is work with young upcoming talent, and Velveteen Dream would tick that box. I mean, you could probably make it work just with how they are now. Like Daniel Bryan is very loud and outspoken and environmental. I'm not saying that Velveteen Dream isn't, but he is almost the antithesis. But he's a bit more lighthearted and a bit more jovial. So you could even, you could even have it that way. And if you look at some of his audacious entrances, the Velveteen Dream has done. If you want to get really silly with it, and let's face it, WWE's done that before. You can even say, that his carbon footprint is high because he has these crazy entrances. I would love that though, because I think Daniel Bryan feels very grounded as a character, whereas the Velveteen Dream again feels very over the top and silly in a good way, ridiculous. So I think having that 180, that antithesis, would actually work really well. So yeah, hell yeah. Why not do that? Why not do anything? Some of the cool, I think one of the reasons, going back to King of the Ring, while I've enjoyed it so much, is that it has introduced us to matches that we weren't prepared for, or at least that we never thought that we'd get to see. And now that we got to see it, I'm like, excellent, 2 thumbs up all around. So let's do more of that. I don't mind having random matches when they're between two people I like. I'm like, cool, let's see where it's going to go. Apparently everyone's having a go at me for how I said Adidas. Do you want me to say Adidas? Like, I don't really care. These things aren't that important in my life. All right, in the chat, 1 is Adidas, 2 is Adidas. How do you say it? Just write 1 or a 2. 1 is Adidas, 2 is Adidas. Let me know what you say. I'm just intrigued by it. Also, I don't really care. I'm just gonna throw it out there. Couldn't give 2 hoots. We should probably mention The Miz and Shinsuke Nakamura. We'll start wrapping up soon as well. So if you've got any questions or you want to ask anything, make sure you get it in now and we can get to it. The Miz being Andrade clean, I got it because obviously he's got an IC title match at the end of the month or the end of the week. We've got to we've got to push it, but I don't. Again, going back to the King of Ring for the 3rd time, I feel like Andrade could have been used better than that. I feel like we could have put somebody else in that space. So that was kind of strange to me. I don't know what. I'm just checking to see. It's quite divided. The Adidas argument. No, I'd say it's 50-50. Vicey and Yogi Beach TV just like, doesn't matter. No, it's divided. So how did I butcher Adidas? Who even cares? Jacob Donnelly in the super chat. Did you hear that Bray wrestled the B team after SmackDown in a dark match? I did. And he was in Fiend uniform as well, which was interesting. I think that's awesome to do that. I think WWE knows that it will be shared online and that people will find out about it, and it will probably convince you to go to more live events because you don't know what's going to happen. Also meant that Bray Wyatt got to wrestle at Madison Square Garden against his brother as well. I'm sure that meant something to them. So I think it was a really good idea. And then people go, oh, I can't believe they wasted it. They didn't waste it. Even though it does get out there on the internet, it doesn't count unless it's on TV. That's always been the way. You can lose, you can win. It's irrelevant. Unless they have a clip on Raw or SmackDown, you can do whatever you want. So I did see that, Jake. I thought it was really cool. And I think WWE offering the live fans an experience like that, especially when they don't accept it, is always going to help you. And they need live attendances to go up right now. So if you can have this idea that, oh my gosh, maybe on Monday if I go to Raw, I get to see Bray Wyatt, even if it's not official, I think a lot of people will buy into that. I know I would. I think it would be cool. AJ Parker in the super chat says, so disappointed that WWE didn't capitalize with a Fiend versus Stone Cold or Taker the last 2 nights. Hopefully there'll be something on ups and downs that would make me feel better. Nikki Croc says, crikey. AJ, man, I'd say wait and see. I think the tease has been put in place. I think we need to get through Hell in a Cell. I don't think you should keep Stone Cold Steve Austin on your list. I think that's done. But I don't think we're done with The Fiend versus The Undertaker. Let's get through November. If we're a couple of months down the line, or a bit more than that, and nothing's happened in November, then yes. But I think this could be... Look, The Fiend versus The Undertaker is a massive deal. It just is, especially after what happened at WrestleMania 31. If they're building to something, especially if The Fiend is going to be champion by then, which again, he could... Let's take our time. No need to rush. Plenty to do. So, be disappointed because you wanted to see it, but maybe also be excited, intrigued that it's just around the corner. That's what I would say. And I think we should keep our fingers crossed for that. Timothy Jones in the Super Chat says 2. So he's gone with Adidas, but he's also said tomato. Exactly. And also, I'm a British bald guy. So also a British bald guy with a sore throat, which is probably, going to butcher it even more. My man Stan in the Super Chat says, just for the hand on the heart. Stan, you get a hand on the heart. Good old Stan. He's a really good guy, sending positive vibes out into the universe constantly. Someone has said Adi Dassler was his name. Simon pronounced it correctly. I love these shows. You never know what it's going to descend down into. And now we're having a discussion about Adidas. Instead of the fact that Ric Flair has signed a deal with them. There's another question. Are we going to have... would you buy a Ric Flair Adidas/Adidas jacket? I don't know what I would do. What does everybody think about Ric Flair as well? I like these live votes now. 1 and 2. 1, yes, Ric Flair did the right thing in trying to... patent the man. Or 2, no, that was really unfair. Becky Lynch has talked about this as well. Becky Lynch has said that she likes Ric Flair. Ric's done a lot for her career and she considers him a friend. And I think she ended that quote by saying, let's see what happens with that. I don't know. So 1 is yes, you agree with Ric Flair. 2, no, you don't. And I'm going to do these a lot. I like this. This is fun. This is fun, just taking advantage of the chat. So far, everybody is saying 2. So it's no. Everyone is saying 2. Okay, it's 100% 2. I agree with you. 2 was no, right? Yeah, 2 was no. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't... it just seems weird to me. I think you should be able to pass that stuff on. I think it should be a generational thing. I think it's... I just think it's like this, it's like Kevin Owens using the stunner. I know it's a bit different, but I like seeing those things because it works both ways. If you're a long-term viewer, you know where it comes from. But if you're not a long-term viewer, you don't have that connection anyway. So it could even open your door to learn about Stone Cold Steve Austin or Ric Flair or Becky Lynch or whatever. You can insert the wrestler of choice here depending on the situation, depending on the context. I just don't think... Also, it's so different to me. To be the man, you got to beat the man. And then the man, I don't know. It seems like a complicated situation to me. Luckily, I don't have to get involved in it. It's different if he was still around every day. Then I would actually agree with Ric Flair. 100%. Like if all of a sudden somebody was on YouTube doing why, here's why, and ups and downs. I'd be like, bro, what are you doing? Like, this is stupid. And there would be a problem. But when you kind of said and done, I don't know. It's very strange. And yes, as people in the chat are pointing out, he took his Nature Boy from Buddy Rogers. That is true. That's what he did, which adds to the craziness. All right, we've got around 10 minutes left. So if you want to talk about anything, make sure you let me know in the super chat in case I've missed anything. Again, don't forget, podcast is sponsored, or the show, I should say, is sponsored by pinsandknuckles.com. Head over to pinsandknuckles.com for your merchandise needs, or pinsandknucklesmerch.com. You can get an exclusive Simon Miller t-shirt. I need to get back on that properly, but I've been sick, so we'll sort it out. Jacob Dominic in the super chat says, I almost had a mini stroke at the fact Shane McMahon could have been in the finals of the King of the Ring, lol. But that's why it was so great. That's why it was so great, Jacob. He didn't get there. Now, if he had got there, you're 100% right. We should go crazy. But he didn't. And that's how the Shane McMahon character should be used. He should be used to be cannon fodder to get other people over because he is a big deal. He's a McMahon. The McMahons are always going to have that kind of power in WWE. But he lost. He lost 2-0, even though it was an impromptu 2 out of 3 falls, as I said. He got his own back, I guess, by continuing his feud on with Kevin Owens, each to their own. I'm a bit done with it, but whatever. So, I thought it was great. I think it helped Chad Gable. And also, I think it was the right move to make, given that Elias has legitimately hurt his ankle. And I was thinking about this too. We all make jokes about the character of Elias, but I think it's sad for him. I thought he had a really good tournament. I didn't like the Gaga in the beginning, but whatever. And I actually thought about it from a personal and a human point of view. That does suck for Elias. He doesn't want to be injured. He doesn't want to be out of that match. I bet he's looking forward to it. I've been injured. I know how much that sucks, and I'm nowhere near the position of the guy that he is. So, shout out to Elias. He smashes it, and I hope he gets better soon. Somebody asked if we always do live streams with ups and downs. Yes, we do, when we can. 1 p.m. BST on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, if I'm able to. More often than not, I am. 95% of the time, definitely on Tuesdays, we do it. It's just a way to warm you up, really. We get to talk about it. We get to lay the scene. And then, as we will do in 9 minutes' time, we can all head over to What Culture Wrestling, and we can all watch ups and downs. And make sure if you haven't subscribed to What Culture Wrestling to do that. And make sure you subscribe to my channel, too. Just subscribe to all the channels, because all it takes is a click of a button. And then you don't have to watch anything. I mean, please do, but they are the rules. They are the rules of YouTube. Vicey and Yogi Beach TV. Gable's been thrown about and he needs to be in a stable. Oh, sorry, and he needs to be stable. I agree, yeah, he just needs a nice elongated push. It should be next week when he beats Baron Corbin, and then you can plan whatever. I mean, I don't know what their plan with the King of the Ring winner is. I think it would have been cool if there was a more obvious prize and you get to wear a hat, or a crown and a cape. But again, I imagine the King of the Ring coming back was a last-minute thing. I think it's been a success. Hopefully it comes back next year at the same time. Do exactly what we've done this time. Doesn't need to be a pay-per-view. Just call it King of the Ring. Just good all round. Michael W., a better heel, Baron Corbin or AJ Styles? AJ Styles. AJ Styles is one of the best heels in the world right now. He's funny. He comes, you know, to take him seriously because he kicks people's ass in the ring. He's talented. He's excellent. Excellent. One of the best ever, AJ Styles. One of the best ever. And I think eventually at one point I'm going to sit down and remake my top 5 with AJ Styles. I've got to think about that. Bobby Ray's in the super chat says, Simon, I'm an up-and-coming wrestler in the US. I want to face the ups and downs guy, in brackets you. Thanks, man. What's up? Bobby, man, let's do it. Let's do it. I'll come over there, whoop your ass. You can come over here, whoop my ass. I would love to start having wrestling matches with people that watch the stuff and are in the community that are also training to be wrestlers. So, Bobby, consider your challenge accepted. All we got to do is work out the logistics. I look forward to seeing you in a ring soon. I will stare across from you. And then, yeah, we'll just go. We'll up those downs. We'll wide. No, I know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to go off on that line. That'd be ridiculous. Yeah, so we will see with the King of the Ring. It's been good. It's been a good tournament, man. I'm not going to criticize WWE when they do well. And I think genuinely, my worry about the rating that we talked about earlier is that it may make WWE change their mind. I think they need to stick the course. It was football. Football crushed them, but I don't think that they've screwed up. I don't. I just think football's more popular than wrestling. You know, they didn't sell out Madison Square Garden, you know. Mark Reeson in the Super Chat says, not to be a negative Neville, because King of the Ring had some great matches, but there were no heel versus heel or face versus face bouts. Predictable thoughts feel better. Thanks, man. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, I think you could do that. I think tournaments are at their best when you do kind of blur the lines a little bit, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's bad enough to sort of wreck the whole thing. But no, I agree with you. I think we could have done that. Like if you had something like Baron Corbin versus Elias, not in the finals, but if we had come across something like that, I think it would have added it does add something different to it, and it adds a legitimacy to it as well. Or something like Andrade versus let me think. Come on, Simon. Brain. I can't think of anybody now. I had someone a minute ago. Andrade versus whoever. You get my point, though. It's different when you have a bad guy, good guy dynamic. So, yes, I would say there is that argument to be had. But again, hopefully next year, King of the Ring will feel bigger. It'll be better promoted. And it'll be even better structured with that idea in there. That would be cool. Michael W. Is the Ultimate Warrior the worst in-ring wrestler of all time? I find it hard to say that, because the Ultimate Warrior worked. And I think when you break wrestling down, the fact that we're still talking about him all these years later means he can't have screwed up that badly. So, I mean, it depends what you want from your wrestling. But, you know, watching Goldberg, for example, destroy someone in 2 minutes is like the highlight for me in many ways. And the Ultimate Warrior had something. Frequently Flying, the Super Chat says, just throwing some dollars in the pot, enjoy. Thank you, my friend. That is very kind of you. And you're always popping up in the pot. So I appreciate that too. Right, let's start to wind things down. Again, any last questions? Make sure you ask them now. Otherwise, we'll go through all the admin stuff. Please like the video, share the video, give me a subscribe if you're already on the channel. That would be great. Come follow me on Instagram and Twitter at SimonMiller316. I've got a Patreon, patreon.com/SimonMiller316. And yeah, like I say, head over to What Culture Wrestling as soon as you see the end screen here. Find that live premiere ups and downs link for SmackDown. Sit down. We'll go through that show and we will, we'll just get into it. And I thought overall, give you my headlines, I thought SmackDown was a good show with some absolutely bizarre moments in it in terms of, for example, that tag team match on Raw, Charlotte, Becky, Sasha, Bayley, awesome. So good. And then Alexa Bliss, Nikki Cross, who are the tag champions, in some weird feud with Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, where Sonya Deville doesn't really get to stand out at all, and it's all a bit convoluted and weird. That's, it kind of goes from one extreme, where everything feels really well put together, to feeling just a bit rushed and all over the place. And I think long-term that kind of does That does hurt. Michael W. in the super chat says, you get a golden up. Thanks, Michael. I use my own gimmicks against me. We haven't given a golden up or a brown down in a while now. Never forget that they have to be earned. They're like 5.5 stars or 7+ stars. You can't just give them out willy-nilly. Some people are like, have you stopped doing them? Like, it's like when people say, oh, nobody reacted to that. The fans were rubbish. No. You got to make the fans react. It's on you to entertain them, and it's on you to get that kind of reaction. It's the same with golden ups and brown downs. We can't give Oscar ups anymore because she's not a YouTuber. She said that herself. Timothy Jones in the super chat said, not wrestling related, but I watched the mental health video you posted last night after a long day, and it helped a lot with what I've been going through. Timothy, nothing makes me happier than that. As I've said time and time again, so many people have said to me that those things helped. And I never thought that I always hoped that they would, but I never knew. And I never knew how people were going to react. So if I was able to get you through a bad spot or a bad day or a hard moment, it's my pleasure. And you humble me by saying it. Tom Osborne in the super chat says, I second the South African question. All right, let me find it. The South African question. There we go. Would you ever come and wrestle in South Africa? Because it will be amazing. It's tough becoming a successful wrestler here. As I say the same to all of this, I will wrestle. If somebody wants to book me and I'm free, I will wrestle there. If I get to travel the world doing it, I'll cry my eyes out with joy because I feel like that's a real barometer for success. South Africa, America, South Korea, Russia, New Zealand, India, Spain, wherever. Miller wants to wrestle there one day. Fingers crossed we will. Right, I'm going to wrap up because my throat's going to go. Heaven and What Culture Wrestling. Much appreciated as always. Thank you for everyone that joined me. Thank you, especially for everybody in the super chat. You have no idea how much it helps me, going forward and getting all of this done. I'm going to try and do a Gears of War live stream some point in the week, so keep an eye out for that. One evening. I've already played through it once. I've got a random save about an hour or so into the game. I thought, screw it. I want to play through it again. I may as well do it on YouTube. So come and sit down and play some Gears of War with me. I'll try and open it as well so two people can jump in. I don't actually know how that works, but I can figure it out. If not, we'll have fun anyway. Not a guarantee, but something I do want to do. Subscribe to the channel. Thanks as always. Love you lots, and I'll see you soon.